What's up, everybody? Welcome to episode 54 of Value Town, a talk show and podcast all about the great game that we all love, Hearthstone. I'm ChanManV, joined today by Reynad and Noxious. What's going on, fellas?
Not much, man. I'm doing great.
Noxious, how about you, man?
Likewise.
Likewise.
I'm
all right.
pretty good. Yeah, it's like the first thing I do today is actually this podcast. I feel like I've been half awake for the rest of the day, but I'll make it through.
Man, it's only midweek, man. We still got a couple days. Actually,
know. That's the worst
Thanksgiving's
part.
coming up. Do you guys do Wait, you're in Canada, right? Yeah, so you guys do Thanksgiving, right? Or is it different over there? I forget.
I don't know. I never do holidays, so I wouldn't know.
Oh, okay. All right.
Yeah, I'm boring like that. I don't know.
What about you, Ray? Are you doing anything for Thanksgiving?
No. I'm gonna stream.
All right, that's cool. That's what everybody wants to hear, anyways, right?
Yeah. I don't know, man. This is like the first one I'm not like doing stuff for, but it's always been like I don't know. Holidays are weird for me. I don't like some. I enjoy them, right? I enjoy holidays, enjoy being with people, but like it's just as enjoyable like not doing anything. So
So emo, man. Okay, that's cool. That's cool. No, I mean, that definitely. I'll probably be watching at some point if you're streaming tomorrow, like at least late. But anyways, lots to talk about. Actually, somebody just got announced. Actually, Reynad just notified me or told me that Blizzard just tweeted about the 2016 Hearthstone Championship Tour. So I haven't even got a chance to read it yet, but I know, Reynad, you've known like the details for a long time. So why don't we just like talk about it here? For those of you that haven't seen it, actually somebody's been, I think, posting it in the chat here. Let's just talk about this real quick, and then I'll follow up with some things. Oh, it's a little too long here. Okay, so there's definitely some differences, and let me bring up the actual page too. Here we go. So, all right, what do you guys notice are the differences? Looks like
majors, man. 3 of
majors.
them.
Yeah, that's cool, man. That's the thing I was like really hoping for. What are your thoughts on majors?
It's cool to have like more meaningful tournaments run by Blizzard throughout the year, other than just this one like World Championship at BlizzCon.
Yeah.
So I like that a lot, and it's kind of the trend that a lot of games, not just Blizzard, are taking. So they're moving away from like this whole like TI thing where there's like one tournament per year that matters, and spreading out the interest in the scene throughout a year, which is cool.
Yeah.
There's a lot of like really that's like the main difference. Aside from that, it's just like a lot of these small details that they've been hammering out for a long time. But Blizzard's esports team is really smart, so like Trevor was in charge of most of this stuff. But it's they've been asking for feedback for a while. It'll be better. It'll be like way better. The point distribution rebalancing is really important in my eyes.
Yeah, so point, let's see, how does that gonna work? So it has been rebalanced.
For ladder, I think. Just basically, whoever's at the top of legend, they're not gonna give everybody like everything to the first spot and nothing to everyone else.
You're right.
From what I gather, and
even
maybe
it
the
out,
events as
okay.
well will have like a better evening out. Yeah.
Okay.
This distribution's more reasonable. I would like the difference between like 50th and 10th is 12 points, or 50th and second is 12 points, which is or sorry, 8 and 12 points. The difference is 4 points, which is like super reasonable. Oh wait, no, points matter a lot now too.
Well, point,
Yeah, they said that.
points
It's got to
matter
do
a
with
lot,
the
dude.
resets.
Yeah.
A reset
No,
of
they didn't matter.
every season, but they say that basically the last call would be dependent on every single point you accumulated. But like, I'm not sure exactly if that really makes them more important than they already were.
Well, no, what I mean by that is there's way fewer points total. Like last
Yeah.
year,
Oh,
it
yeah,
didn't-
that's
like
true.
this year it didn't matter at all. Like how many points you got. Like it's like
Yeah.
handing them out like candy, and it's
Yeah. I mean, the total, yeah, you're right. The total will definitely be less. And
But this
Definitely these things
even though
matter.
there's only 4 points difference between 50th and second, there should be like almost no difference, right? In skill level wise, as far as the way Hearthstone ladder works, there's a difference of 2 wins or losses within the last hour. So it's
Yeah.
those 2 wins or losses, based on entirely skill, of course,
Mhm.
are the difference of 4 points, which like this year wouldn't have been much, but here points matter a lot. Like because there's so few of them. You win a championship, you get 30.
Yeah.
Yeah, and finishing
Yeah,
like
finishing
first in
first, you get
a
half of
unranked
that. Yeah.
season, you
So
basically get half the first place of
yeah,
a big event. So
it
It's
just,
kind of like the same as
it was, yeah, I
well,
don't, not not
first was
quite, but
50, and winning a
yeah.
tournament was 50, I think, right?
yeah.
First, I mean that applies to like literally one person. That's I guess top 10 gets you almost.
Yeah, the
Like,
But
cups.
then again, top 100 still gets 5 for all that's worth. So
So the cups are.
that's true.
Let's see. So these cups, I'm just assuming are the smaller events, right? So 3, 2, 1 there. Um,
Ooh, I don't like this. You get a point just for getting legend. I assume that's to incentivize people to play ranked, but I
I guess, but
don't.
like, how many
Oh,
points
that's
do you
one
need?
point,
actually
yeah.
It's like, how many points do you need to actually get into last call? I
I
mean,
that's
don't
a
know.
good question.
You get 12 if you
yeah,
reach legend
you
every
have to.
season. So
I know. Yeah,
grinding right there.
I think they're doing it to fill up their like regional thingies because there's like
was it
I,
Baron last time? I guess I don't know.
I would have to read the whole thing. I don't know if
Yeah, I don't know if
no,
that's
no,
even a
here,
bad
here,
idea.
yeah, yeah, here they did talk about it. On-site events, cool. So I can talk about it. So multiple fireside gatherings serving as the setting for season preliminaries that lead into season championships, and there's more opportunities for you to attend local events that can be for your players. So
Where's that?
you basically
Okay.
like you get these points, you play these, you're playing things on site, right? You can't just play the whole like qualifier process
Hmm.
online anymore, like um this year, for example, I played like 8 or 10 matches or whatever because I
Hmm.
started from last call up until wherever I eventually dropped out.
Hmm.
And every single day I was like playing from a different place. You play one from home,
Yeah.
played one from like esports arena, played one from Blizzard office, played like it's like this every single day, right? So the idea is that you get more competitive integrity if you do it on site. So you drive somewhere, um, play like the qualifiers, and then just like a Magic tournament sort of. But they have these computers.
Yeah.
They don't say details, so I
Yeah, I mean, like, how
can't.
many sites will there be though? It's still going to be
A
pretty.
lot.
Oh, they're there. Okay, as
A
long as there's like,
logistical like
Yeah.
yeah.
nightmare.
Oh my
A
God.
lot.
Okay, as long as
Yeah.
there's a lot. I mean, it's like, if somebody has to drive like 504 miles, I mean, or take a plane, that kind of sucks, right?
No, there's a
So,
lot of them. Like I spoke
mm,
to with the guy who was in charge of organizing some of the fireside stuff, and basically there's almost too many to even keep track of at this
that's
point.
cool, man. Like,
This guy's swamped. I don't even know how they're organizing all that. But like I see here that they're allowing last hero standing for tournaments to get points. So you can play
yeah,
like LHS, Conquest, 4 hero 1 band Conquest, or blind pick best of 5. So they've got like 4 formats that they're allowing you
good.
to use
Yeah,
for the games, which I think is actually pretty cool instead of Conquest
You
necessarily.
know, that's the big thing, right? Is like they acknowledge that Conquest is not the end all be all format, and if something better comes along after like the first major of the year, they're open to changing like the
Yeah.
format of the World Championship. So
yeah.
uh,
One thing I don't love is really just the points being given to the Hearthstone Cup. Just the smaller events. I feel like we have too many of them right
I
now.
don't like that either, but
God,
they
it's
want to like encourage community to host their own events. Just
yeah, I know.
giving no points at all to third party formats would feel really shitty if like qualifies as a major. I was gonna say like if somebody won Seat Story and they got no points and then they just didn't qualify for BlizzCon, like what that would be weird to the community, right?
I mean, I
There are
think,
a lot
but
of significant tournaments run by third parties, so they need to have those play into BlizzCon somehow.
yeah,
Question is, what is a cup? Like, is the
yeah. I mean,
Yeah,
a
I don't
cup.
know.
I mean,
Yeah,
they have
as far as
the
the
they have.
format
I
and
think they have
everything.
the events are eligible for awarding points here. Maximum of 32 participants. I mean, there's a list of stuff. I just felt like
okay?
this year there were just too many events, and as cool as that is, just like from a high level standpoint, looking down on it, I mean, just that's great. That there's a lot of opportunities for the players, but at the same time, it starts to it starts to becoming stale, or just seeing the same players each and every week just playing whatever event, you kind of lose the prestige of certain things. But the majors will help with that. The majors obviously will be will be pushed up above everything, and winning a major will be a big deal. So
it says no instant buys in Hearthstone majors. Invited players may have their spots reserved, but they'll start in the same round as all open play. See,
yeah, that's
they were gonna do only like no invite tournaments. So this is like interesting.
No, they're still
because
inviting.
like yeah, but the thing about that is like nobody was getting buys for being invited. It never worked that way. I can't think of a single tournament that gave invited players buys over like qualified players.
Well, that would be
even
that would be
Firebat
double
couldn't go
crappy,
in,
right?
Like I don't think I've ever seen this. I mean, the thing is, maybe they want to make sure that, like maybe put that down in wording just for the like tournament organizers to make sure that they also, at their discretion, follow the same kind of rule set. But I don't know.
Yeah,
they do that a lot.
Well, anyway, for the viewers, a lot of you guys might not care about this stuff, but you should care. Next month is like starting in 5 days. Your ladder points matter, so
yeah, exactly. Which is, matter more than. Well, they mattered a lot before, but at least getting to even 100th, like 50 to 100th now matters, and I think that was important. Just really extending the number of just the number of spots that are competitive, because I felt like people were super competitive for the top 20 spots before, maybe in the top 10 spots actually, really, but now I think it extends a little bit further, which is cool. But exciting, at least they're making changes, and they're listening to the community and switching it up. So I'm excited about it. $1 million total is really, really cool. Actually, how's that breaking up there? So 100,000, what is this per region? So is BlizzCon's going to be...
BlizzCon's going to be, from what I gather, 1 million, and it's 100K for each major.
Oh, okay, with 100 pool for... Okay, so in addition to it, wow, okay.
Right, so the one
awesome,
it's actually 1 million for the HWC itself, which is astronomical.
Yeah,
like it's massive. It's unreal. It's unrealistically big, but you kind of have to expect it with the popularity of the game. It's I don't know how much like they liked being taken. Got cut off by ATLC having a prize pool as big as their World Championship. Maybe this time they're like, you know what, we're gonna bump it up 4 times over. Make sure nobody even thinks of coming close.
I don't think Blizzard even felt inadequate or anything about that.
Sure.
WCA beat the BlizzCon prize pool like a year before ATLC.
They don't seem to care too much about that.
I doubt WCA is even the only Chinese tournament that had a higher prize pool. I bet there were more. But yeah, they don't. The prize pool is not a big thing. Like it's just they're bumping it up because it's like more developed nowadays. Like the Hearthstone scene is like it's something people expect, look forward to, follow. They feel like if Hearthstone grows, the competitive scene at least, then the prize pool might as well.
Yeah. All right. Well,
that's cool.
Yeah, no, definitely big news. This is definitely huge, and it's good to hear that they're kind of solidifying all of this right before even January, because
they have to do it before December, right? Because next month is gonna count towards this, so they need to
December. Yeah,
there'd be like outrage if December ended and people are like, oh, I didn't know these points mattered last month. And but yeah, the main takeaway here is 1 legend point just for getting legendary. So all Tempo Storm users going to BlizzCon confirmed.
That's right, man. You can be in the mix, man. It's gonna
Storm
be
last call qualifier.
That's right. Every Tempo Storm.
What it is.
That's a lot of people, man. It's gonna be some huge tournaments.
A lot of Zoo players.
A lot of Zoo players. Oh man, we're gonna be talking about that soon. All right, well, that's definitely cool. I actually just remembered there's a few details I wanted to talk about today's show too. That we're gonna be doing call-ins later on today for the first time on Value Town, and the way you do that is you're gonna join the Discord channel that we have here, and Wars GG, he's gonna be my admin in that channel, is gonna be the person to talk to, and he's gonna ask you what kind of questions you're gonna ask and all that good stuff. And then we'll figure out how to, get you guys into the call-ins at the very, very end. But here's the Discord channel. Go ahead and join there. Hang out there for now. This is the ChanManV one anyways. Just everybody hangs out there. And then we'll figure that out. But today we're going to be talking about cards. We're going to be talking about just reviewing the cards that we talked about last week and just seeing if, our opinions changed or not pertaining to them. And then we're going to talk about a couple Reynad decks, maybe even a Noxious deck here. And then we've got one deck for Tink My Deck. We're kind of reintroducing that segment where we give some of our, I guess, advice or opinions with a viewer's deck or a fan's deck that can help improve. But let's talk about a few of the cards that were released in this second wing. Last Value Town, we didn't get a chance to actually play the cards. We were just kind of evaluating some of what we thought. But now that we've had about a week to play these cards, I kind of want to get your opinions on them. And we'll kick things off with Bran. Bran was, kind of the big card that everybody was waiting for, and, just all the cool synergies and combos that we could do with Bran. What do you guys think about Bran after playing it for a week? Noxious, you want to go?
I haven't played it that much.
Ray?
Yeah, Noxious, you'd know better than me.
No, actually, it's one of those cards that I really thought would have a lot more appeal than it did. But it's I think the card on its own is fun, but its actual effectiveness is very, very limited. There's really not that many battle cries that I'm happy to play with Bran, so I ended up trying to find room for it, and eventually you end up making decks to make Bran work, which is just the same as making Baron Rivendare work, which just doesn't work too well. But it's definitely a lot more potent. I mean, if you play Defend of Argus with it, it's amazing. Even Abusive Sergeant, that's pretty much the deck that I brought, basically, a very aggressive battle cry oriented deck. But I guess Milrogue is doing a lot of work with it, but that's because they already draw through all their decks, so they can half reliably get to it and maybe get better heal bots. So it's kind of playing into their game plan. Not so much for anyone else though, and I'm a little disappointed, but
Ray?
Too bad.
Yeah.
I was saying for a long time that Brown I just don't like. I thought it was a terrible card. It was the card people were really excited for because it's the Baron Rivendare effect. They think of the stupidest, highest impact battle cry that they can, and they're like, oh my god, I'm going to get 2 of these and win the game. But in reality, you can't really build around a legendary. That I thought the only deck it might see playing is the Rumbling Elemental Shaman deck, because then you actually have 3 cards that reward you for battle cries, instead of just 1. Like Noxious said, it's hard to build around 1 card in your deck. But it turns out Braun is a little bit better than I thought. People keep trying to get me to put him into everything, which is just
try to combo with 100 cards that it combos.
I build the token deck. I'm like, oh, Reynad, play Brand Bronzebeard. It's fucking why? So I can get you realize if you copy Defender of Argus, you're getting an extra +1/+1 in stats. It's almost the equivalent of playing
Plus a
Blackwing connection.
Exactly.
Yeah, exactly.
That's the dream in that deck, and they're telling me to cut Reliquary Seekers for it. You fucking kidding me? I don't know.
No, but you can keep it with the Reliquaries, right? It's even better.
Right, yeah, because
you get another Reliquaries.
Off, right? When I have 7 minions and play a 1-mana 5/5, what I usually lose those games, right? If only that was a 9/9, that would have won.
Exactly.
That's a BGA triple that it wasn't before.
That's true. It makes it even worse.
It might actually be better as a 5/5.
Yeah, yeah, I think so. No, I agree. Yeah, with Bran, it's there's so many. Well, okay, here's a question: would it make any difference if you could play 2 of them, or still the same?
Yeah. Probably. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, that's the big thing with me too. It's just you don't build a deck around this card because it just doesn't. It's very situational. I mean, you probably only get it 20% of the time or something like that. So depending on your deck, it's hard to it doesn't have nearly the impact Reno has. Reno is just way more impactful.
But yeah, I think it's hard that people will include in decks that just happen to have a lot of battle cries.
Yeah.
Just right now, there aren't a lot of decks like that.
Do you think it enhances the mill decks, or do you think even the mill rogue even needs it with all the?
I've been trying.
Shadow stuff?
I've been trying to win on ladder, so I haven't played a single game of mill. I don't know, man.
Oh man.
I've seen a lot of people playing it. It must be good, right? So many people are running it. It's really it's got to be good with Shadow Step because with 7 mana you get 2 extra cold light triggers basically. So yeah, in Rogue in Rogue Mill it's good, but is Rogue Mill playable? I would be surprised.
Gotta ask
No,
Ryzen,
it's
man.
even worse
Ryzen
now that
plays it
aggro's
like
come back. Like aggro's
Yeah.
actually, like Secret Paladin was quote unquote aggressive, but really not. Like it's not aggro in the way that you see Zoo and Shaman being right now, which is like if you mail those decks,
Mhm.
you're dead. There's literally no way for you to actually do anything about it, um, unless you get a really clutch prep vanish. So I think Mill Rogue right now is weak just because everything that's on the ladder is aggro, but for some reason that's not, I think, a trend that's going to stop anytime soon. So I don't think Mill is going to be playable for a while.
Yeah. Okay.
Too bad.
What about Keeper of Alderman? That's next one. Keeper of Alderman is the Paladin card, right? That changes any card to a 3/3, 3/4, or it's a 3/4 card
That's
that
pretty
changes to
nuts.
3/3. Okay, so were you able to use it this past week in a good Paladin deck?
A little bit. Like it's the kind of card that's like always at least fine, and very rarely exceptional. So it, how do I put it? Like it's playable and it's fine. The question is, do you play it over things like Shredder, Blessing of Kings, True Silver, Consecration? And that's a really tough question to answer. It's going to take a lot of games to figure out like how many keepers do I want? Is this card better or worse than the other 4 drops?
Right.
Right now, I don't know, but I do know it is playable and it's definitely like in contention with the other 4 drops. So.
All right. Yeah, Noxious, you play any of this card?
Yeah, I've played a lot of it, but again, it's always the 4 slot problem that Reynad brought up. I felt like this card would be a lot better than it turned out. Like it gives you some really clutch plays sometimes. On turn 3 you go Muster, then somehow you have a turn 4 Uldamon into a trade into Shredder. Like it happens sometimes, or you manage to negate a massive Doctor Boom, and suddenly it's not as big a threat. But usually, for at that point, and you're already playing from behind, then BGH would 10 times better than Uldamon in that position. So there's a lot of spots where Uldamon looks like it's good, but it would actually be better if it were something else, or even a second True Silver in the mid game. So I'm like, I want the card to work, but I don't think we have yet a deck where it's necessary. Like you might as well just get tempo out of other cards, because
Yeah,
unless you
Yeah.
make like a big 1/1 divine, like an Argent Squire 3/3, I'm not all usually impressed.
I mean, that's a good way to put it. Like, there's always a card that's better. That's better. The thing about keepers, it's like it's so flexible, so it's pretty much never bad, but it's also never exceptional. When you use its ability on like a Sea Giant or Doctor Boom, it's like, okay, it's cool that I have an answer, but it's not like a great answer ever. That's the issue with it.
All right. Next, what about Tunnel Trog? You guys think of Tunnel Trog? I saw you were playing it in one of the decks we're going to discuss here, that's your Shaman deck. Initial thoughts on it?
I mean, this is the card I was probably the most excited for because it opened up a new class. But I actually think like at least this week before the new cards come out, Shaman's like easily the best deck in the game. I don't think it's like remotely close.
Wow. Okay.
The fall off between Shaman and the second best deck is like really big. So yeah, man, this card's real good.
So one card takes it from on Tempo Store.
No, one drops are one drops are
drop, man.
I know,
Yeah.
but still, like it takes it from the basement, literally tier 4 to tier 1, like with just one
In my
card.
eyes,
That's pretty
yeah.
amazing, man.
I mean, I built like a suboptimal. The first version of Aggro Shaman I tried suboptimal. Started at rank like been like rank 200 legend. And within an hour and a half, I was rank 5 legend. Like, and then the whole streaming thing happened, but that wasn't even a good version of the list. Eloise takes the deck like 2 days ago. She climbs from rank 15,000 legend in China to rank 5 legend, like with a completely different version of Aggro Shaman. It's like, the card is. It's not that the card in and of itself is broken. That's not how cards work in Hearthstone, but it's like kind of the missing piece. It's what Shaman's needed for a long time, and Aggro Shaman's definitely here to stay. But like once all the wings are released for League of Explorers, Shaman, I don't think we're not getting any more Shaman class cards, right? So aside from Sir Finley, there's no card that comes to mind off the top of my head that is an addition to Shaman, whereas other classes get a lot. So the reason Shaman is like the best class right now is just because all the wings aren't out. So I'm sure it won't be the best class after all the wings are out, but like right now this week, it's the best deck in the game.
All right, Noxious, you agree with that? Shaman best.
Yeah,
deck
it's
in the
kind of
game?
it's kind of hard not to agree. I mean, Mech Shaman was already good at, like, it was okay. I mean, the last we saw of it in tournament play was ATLC pretty much. I think when RDU started, I mean, that's the last I saw at least. It kind of fell off, but it's always been missing that imbalanced one drop, like the Mana Worm style of one drop.
Mhm.
You know, the not Clockwork Gnome or Cogmaster one drop, the one that doesn't just die off to anything. And now that they have that, and the fact that they can curve into Totem Golem, now they've got a good reason to play it. There were a lot of decks that, like, you don't even have to run mech. Like, that's the cool thing about the card, is it works in all those things. What I want to see though is whether or not that card even has a spot in mid range. Because from what I've seen, you know, I hoped the card will also work in mid range Shaman a lot better than it has. But somehow I feel like Zombie Chow is still superior in that spot for the most part, unless you can absolutely get that curve going. If you
Yeah.
miss your curve in mid range, I feel like Tunnel Trog doesn't do anything. Like, it's just kind of a dead card, and I might as well run something else. I don't know if you've had that
That's
experience as well,
that's
playing around with it.
go ahead.
Yeah,
Rick.
you definitely can play it over Zombie Chow or in addition to it. It's definitely like good in all versions. The first deck I played it in was mid-range Shaman, which was like, like the day this card came out, I'm like, oh, let me put it in a Shaman deck, and I wasn't even thinking aggro. But after having played with like the more aggressive lists a lot, I feel like that's just like the direction you want to go.
Yeah.
When you build a mid-range Shaman deck or a slower one, you're forced to include all of these random like 1 to 2 ofs that gain life and all of this. You hope you draw it in the right time and the right matchups, and it's so much better to just like be proactive, go face. And yeah, I don't know, man. It's
Well, it has more impact for sure. Yeah, doing that, like crackling with tunnel troll or a tunnel trog and that sort of thing works a lot better in aggro than in the mid range shaman. I tried the mid range shaman too. it didn't have as much of impact, but it was still fun. It was still fun getting a chance to buff it, like once you get even off of turn one. So definitely cool. Yeah, the aggro shaman. We're gonna talk about that deck in just 1 second here, but the last card that to discuss is the Unearthed Raptor, which is the rogue card, 3/4, that allows you to copy a death rattle, right? A friendly death rattle. Any of you guys got a chance to play Death Rattle Rogue at all?
Barely. But like the most I did was, because the thing is, I tried the whole tempo type of deck. Because I mean, it's a 3 mana 3/4. You think, oh yeah, I'm gonna play that in a more tempo-ish type of deck. But unfortunately, I feel like it works a lot better in hyper aggro. Maybe not hyper, but something of a very aggressive list where you play, Leper Gnomes and you play Loot Hoarders and Blood Mage Thalnos. And that's kind of the most value I've gotten out of it. I thought to make it work, obviously, with Nerubian Egg. Maybe you play double Squire, double Leper Gnome, double Egg with Argent, like the Lens Carrier guy. If you can buff the Argent Squire or the Egg, you're good to go, and then you can slap the Raptor on top, get yourself a 4/4. Like against Warrior, that's really good, but if you're not facing off against those and you're still losing to the other aggro decks, then I feel like I haven't been able to find a spot for it that just makes me think, yeah, this card is busted, and I just want to play with Unearthed Raptor and Rogue. Instead, I just want to play, the Jeweled Scarab in Oil Rogue. Like that's pretty much all that changed for me in the new expansion from League, but it's sad.
Yeah, it's not a card you can really put into Oil Rogue. It's people keep sending me like Death Rattle Rogue lists on stream, and they're all like kind of different, and I don't know, decks just kind of feel all over the place. They're trying to fit in all these spells so that they can do broken rogue things, but then they're playing like these Nerubian Eggs that they have like almost no activators for. And it's tough, man. It's like if I play turn 2 Nerubian Egg and follow up with Raptor, and I don't have a way to use the initial Nerubian Egg, like it's like you spent 2 cards and 5 mana to get the good Raptor, which is still silenceable. So is that good enough? I don't know.
Yeah,
I do agree with Noxious. In aggro decks, that's the place it'll be like very good. But right now, I think as powerful of a card as it is, and it is one of the best 3 drops in the game in a vacuum. It's in the only class where it's balanced. I think like as more cards get released, maybe it gets better. But.
Okay. Well, why don't we talk about some, and we just kind of introduce our deck tech
Sure.
segment here.
Deck tech initiating.
All right, here we go. So we've got three rogue decks from Kashmir that was posted on competitive Hearthstone, just the subreddit, and list 3 of them here. Actually, Just Saying is one of them, and there's 2 other variations that you can see here: LQYD and Doctor. A little bit differences in each of them. I kind of want to get your opinion on which one you think is better. There's one that's more aggro centric. There's one that's more very control centric, and there's another one that's kind of in between.
I mean, the Doctor one looks good on paper.
Mm-hmm.
The thing with Saiyans deck is like these are the kinds of lists I get linked to me on stream. Is a card really good if it's forcing you to place Needs Old Shredder in your deck? I don't know, man.
I've played this type of deck for sure. The Just
right.
Saying one, yeah.
Like you have to draw your
Come on,
Raptor
it's
after
fun,
your needs
right?
to yeah.
No, the Doctor's actually like, I feel like Doctor looks good.
It's mostly because
Sneeds and KT, the whole Sneeds KT thing. I mean, it's kind of interesting because it's a spin on the control rogue. Obviously, like at this point, it's basically control.
yeah,
Like that's what it's going for.
you kind of have to,
Yeah,
right? If you're trying to copy Sneeds' Death Rattle, then it's got to be some type of control.
And for all I know, Saiyan's list is the best one, but Doctor's looks the prettiest on paper. But without playing them, it's hard to say like which one's the best. But
Yeah,
it's first one's more of like traditional.
With
Raptor rogue.
with aggro being so popular right now, can any of these really work? I mean, there is a
I
lot
could
of
see
removal.
like
Still
you got
backstab, still
backstab,
fans.
zombie chows, you got the creepers, the hoarders. I feel like
Yeah.
Just Saying's list has enough early game, and the double fan of knives really helps against all the flood. Like whether it's Pally or it's Zoo, you're gonna be fine. You've got one. The double Belcher plus heal bot also helps against some of the more, minion centric decks that you can't just shake off with fan of knives. I kind of like it, but I feel like would you play that over say, another class instead, right? Because it's a fun innovation for Rogue. But would I play that if my goal is to control the board and get big threats down? Probably not. But
Yeah, I mean, one thing that's I think noticeably missing from these decks is any kind of weapon centric cards, right? Like the
Right.
poisons, the oils, and assassin's blades. They're not here. So is the hero power even? It kind of negates the hero power, or at least these type of decks. I think your hero power is actually not synergistic at all with this deck.
Yeah, the cool thing about the Rogue hero power is it's the strongest early game hero power
True.
by a mile.
That's true.
And you want to it's one of the few decks that's very okay with just using the hero power turn 2. So when you're like playing a 2-drop and not hero powering, by the time you do hero power, it's what, turn like 4 or 6 or 8, and the dagger is just way less impactful at that stage. I feel like the biggest sacrifice here is that you're not playing like preparation. You're not doing one of the few broken things that Rogue can do. You're just playing like good dudes in a deck together, and
Yeah.
it's like what does this deck do that Zoo doesn't?
Yeah.
I don't know.
definitely true.
play Sneeds.
Yeah, play Sneeds. Yeah, you can copy Sneeds, man. Copy Sylvanas and
Yeah.
cool things like that.
It's
But-
cool. It's cool on paper, though. I
Yeah.
think that's kind of what the Raptor, like, that's what the Raptor was, maybe not intended to be, but that's what people wanted it to be. Is lists like these is what they saw it in, with so many death rattles that you're putting in just to enable the Raptor at some point. And Sane took it a step further, whereas Doctor went for the more aggressive line. I don't know.
Yeah,
it's
but-
kind of it's interesting to see both people build different things.
It's getting closer. I think Rogue's getting closer. This type of Rogue. I mean, even copying like Haunted Creeper is pretty good for a 3/4, right? I mean, the death rattle. So maybe one or two more cards for Rogue, and we could see some more tempo based or mid range type of rogues becoming that aren't oil rogues, right? Starting becoming viable. That's be really great to see. All right, well, next let's talk about some of Reynad's aggro decks here, since aggro seems to be the place, just the type of deck to be playing right now on the ladder. Let me bring it up real quick, and we'll
The
start.
token deck is not aggro, but
Oh, is it?
but
Let me
yeah,
see. Oh, the zoo deck, you mean?
people
Yeah, I
call
guess
it
the
that.
zoo.
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess it's. Yeah,
It's
I
more
guess
mid-range,
true. It's
honestly.
more mid range than it is aggro. That's a good point. Okay, so we'll bring it up. It's on TempoStorm.com, of course. So check
Heard
it
of that
out
website.
here. Okay, yeah. So talk about it. So just some things to point out are obviously Death Peddler, Reliquary Seeker is obviously a card that you don't get a chance to see very much, and then Gormak, of course. So talk about some of the main points of the deck.
Play a lot of dudes. Play Sea Giant, play Reliquary Seeker. It's pretty straightforward. I mean, it's a zoo deck that wants you to keep your minions around.
Right.
Right.
Just play a bunch of
Yeah.
shit and then just get those guys down. Yeah. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, the interesting thing with this kind of deck is that the how do I put it? Like, there's so many cards that are good with tokens, like Cult Master, Direwolf Alpha, Dark Iron Dwarf. Like these cards that really like work well in a token deck, but they're not in this list because I've found like while I was building this deck that there's actually two kinds of token cards. There's the ones that want you to like lose your tokens, and there's ones that want you to keep your tokens around.
Mm-hmm.
So Reliquary Seeker, Sea Giant, and Gormok want you to keep them around, whereas Cult Master wants you to like trade them off. So I don't, even though it's a token deck, I don't think you want to play cards like Cult Master in the same list. But yeah, that's how I feel about it.
Is this the latest
Anyway.
version of it? Like this is the most recent version of it? Because this is really just the one that was, I think.
Yeah, the only thing I
posted at one
changed
point.
is one Zombie Chow I turned into an Enhancer Meccano because I wanted a second
nice.
Gormok.
Right.
But that's the only change I really made to it.
Yeah. It's interesting because this list is basically like I have another list that was pretty much around the same time. I had like 4 cards difference, and I didn't play Echoing Oozes, and I'm still not sure I like them that much. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. I couldn't really think of anything better. And playing cards like Knife Juggler just seems so greedy to me. Also, fuck that card. So,
You've always hated that card, man.
yeah, any excuse to cut it, dude. I can justify it in that it doesn't make 2 dudes like Ooze in this deck. So,
Yeah.
you deck without
Well,
a
making
juggler.
making
it's
two-
the game.
making 2 dudes is important, right, for this deck. It's just to
Yeah.
get the siege.
I've never. I don't think I've ever lost a game where I rolled a 4 on my first implosion either. So you just have like a 33% chance of winning the game right off the bat, which is or like 5% in my case, but it's pretty good.
Never lucky. All right, yeah, this deck's definitely strong. You see a lot of this deck too ever since you started playing it, of course, and it was posted on Reddit. So
Lose to it a lot.
Yeah, exactly. It's definitely a strong one. Okay, so the next deck we'll talk about. Oh, actually, I have this. Whoops. Let me change the title here. And the next one we have is the Shaman deck.
I linked a newer-ish one in Discord.
Okay, let me find it.
I'll link it again. It's in the general chat.
All right. Yeah, and those of you just tuning in, while we're doing this, we are doing call-ins. So today on Value Town. So join up in Discord. I'll give you the link real quick here again in case the mods aren't linking it. And go ahead and join up. Talk to WarsGG, and then he'll get you ready to join with us at the very end of the show. Okay, so all right, I'm not gonna bring it in the card view. I'm
Just
just
pull them
gonna
up side by side if you have both.
Okay, let me. Oh, it's gonna be hard because the other one's actually on Tempo Storm. we'll just go one at a time.
Yeah.
We'll go one at a time here. All right, so
Sure,
we'll
sure.
go web view here. All right, so yeah, just talk about this one generally. This one has ancestral knowledge. Okay, cool. 2 of them actually. This is all doubles, nice and short. Kind of love that.
Yeah, this is like a combination of Eloise's list and my list. Like the first list I started with was I wanted to make like the most consistent aggro deck. I want to have the most consistent openings possible, because that's usually where Shaman's like, you know, a little bit sketchy. If you don't draw one of your 2 tunnel frogs, then like your hand would fall apart. So what I did is I played like, you know, Mech Warper or Noitron. I gave it that whole curve, and that was cool because all your opening hands are nuts. But the problem with that deck is it has so many dead draws like in the late game, because you're playing like all these low impact minions. Whereas Eloise's list is like the opposite approach. She plays like no early game aside from Totem Golem, Whirling, Zap-O-Matic, and Tunnel Trog. Upper Gnome, I guess, if you want to count that. And then her deck is just like all burn and card draw after that. So like once the opponent's put in the defensive, she's like drawing very live, like no dead draws. And this list is basically me saying, okay, like Eloise's deck is going in the right direction. It's more aggressive. Well, it's not more. My first one's more aggressive. Hers is like better top decks, and this one is me saying, okay, your deck is good, but not playing Power Mace is just dumb. So, like, this is me like enabling Power Mace without the Mech Warper parts of the deck, which I think works reasonably well.
Let me show the old one real quick here, for folks that can have some kind of reference.
This one's dirty. I haven't lost it, or I only played like 5 games with this. I lost one of them, but I'm probably gonna stream this deck today.
The one that we were just looking at, right?
Yeah, the new one. This was the first one. This one just like farmed. I don't know, man. This didn't lose like for a lot of games.
I played this
but
one.
I wonder
too. It's good.
Yeah.
It's funny because this deck is like, I casted a tournament. What was it? 2 days ago, I think, over the weekend. And one of the finalists on the open qualifier had a list that was basically, I think, this, because it was running basically double Ancestral, double Azure Drake for card draw, double Doomhammer. He was running Power Maces without the whole necessity to play mechs. He didn't end up winning because, of course, if you whiff the 1 and 2, then you're pretty much out of it. Like if you don't pick up, 1 and 2 drops, very often, if they have something, they're playing something remotely aggressive like Secret Pally, then you're gonna be in a rough spot. But the transition from like the early to the mid to the late game was actually pretty good. Like there's no way to really stop the top decks from coming over, and then you always get blasted by top decks. As you said, when they are put on the defensive, like Eloise starts to draw. That's pretty much what the deck does, though. Like the modification you made doesn't prevent that at all. Like it's still live.
Yeah, this list, this first one was pretty different, I would say.
Yeah, it's kind of got the 2 lines. It's kind of got the overload guys, and then it's kind of got the mech guys. So I remember like just mulliganing. It's like I always get like a little bit of both, and you always I tend to have to choose between whether I want to go with a mech opening or more of the overload opening. So
just look at the curve on it. Like, I mean, it's the lowest curving Shaman deck of all time. That's nuts.
Yeah, it's definitely
most expensive card is like, if you don't count Doomhammer, it's 3 mana.
Yeah,
and there's only like 2 3-mana minions, 2 3-mana spells. The rest of the deck costs 2 or 1. It's a pretty smooth deck as far as draws go. But yeah, this one's just like too. I was in low ranks, I'd play a list like this, I think, and then in higher ranks, people are like better at playing around the strategy now that they know what it's trying to do, and they mulligan like very aggressively for early game, and decks like Reno will give you trouble with that list, whereas this list still beats Reno.
Really? Wow, there's that much damage in this list. That's cool. All right, I'm gonna have to try this one right after the show.
Yeah. I don't mean that it beats like Reno the card, because that's still going to beat you most of the time, but it beats like a bunch of Warlock removal into Sludge Belcher, which the other list won't. It's kind of cool.
Yeah, no, definitely.
It's good, man. It's dangerous. Like Ancestral Knowledge too, very bad card, but man, it's like just barely good enough here. Just so all your draws are always live.
Yeah, especially if you get a tunnel try. At least you get some value from it too, just from the overload. That's our double value from it. Okay, well, you guys should definitely try this deck out. You'll definitely climb the ladder pretty quickly when you start playing this. At least that was my experience. Noxious, you have a priest deck we want to take a look at. It might not be legend. He's kind of
no, dude. It's not
precursors.
Even,
like it's not legend, but
it's
still fun. It's still definitely
absolutely insane.
All right, here we go.
In the way that it doesn't
let me
work
link
well.
it to you, actually, Ray. If you don't have it, here we go.
Yeah. It's just fun,
Hey,
but it's really fun.
So it's called Shadow Brand Beard or Brawn Beard.
Yeah.
So talk about it, man.
So, well, it's aggro priest basically. I've tried to make aggro priest work multiple times. It's obviously not remotely refined. I barely even work on this, but I wanted to make sure that I included brand in aggro priest, and it gave me a justification to finally include abusive sergeants in the deck.
Mhm.
And collateral calls, because I used to cut those because the card draw wasn't relevant, and I played cultists that have high health to use with Circle and Northshire. In this list though, you're kind of playing for the whole Mind Blast and everything. You're drawing with the Cold Lights when you're running out of steam. Works with Loot Hoarder, Blood Mage Thalnos. You also get a bit of extra draw. Jeweled Scarab can get you cultists if you need them. Valence Chosen. You don't really use Thought Steal most of the time unless you're against a Warlock or you've got nothing else to choose from. But there's a lot of really good 3-drops in Priest, and I'm probably gonna swap those out for the Curator guy, like the 1/2 that draws Death Rattles once it comes out.
Oh yeah, that card's really
Um,
good.
Yeah.
But that's pretty much the intent. Like the intent is basically just draw cards. You've got a lot of card draw in the deck, and you try to use Brand with Abusive Shadow Bombers. That's 6 damage for 1 mana. So it's really not that much. But once you start stacking up all the damage sources, it gets a bit obscene. And I'm putting 2 Alchemized with 2 circles as like kind of safety in some cases. Like Secret Paladin, sometimes you'll need that if you don't, curve necessarily, and Abusive Sergeant doesn't do much against them. Muster for Battle kind of sucks. And the interesting part about this deck is that I don't put Chows in it. I used to have Zombie Chows because I figured, might as well have the extra health. But as soon as Brand came out, I decided to put back the Cold Lights in because it's really a crazy tempo swing. Like in the mid game or like on turn 6, if you can draw yourself 4 cards, 2 of which could be Mind Blast or Shadow Bomber, I feel like eventually an aggro priest that looks, something like this, but a lot of cards will be different. Obviously, will be viable. I just don't know when. That's what really frustrates me is that I keep trying to make aggro priest work without using the whole Death Lord plus injured Blade Master shenanigan, like literally Ebola Church. I keep trying to make that work. It just doesn't work so far. It's probably like rank 5, but I don't think you'll climb past that.
I like that the battle cries that you're using with Braun are pretty cheap. That's a big deal. Like Shadow Bomber
Right.
gives you another 1 mana battle cry so like you can actually play Braun on like a reasonable turn, like turn 5, and get 2 triggers out of it. So that could be pretty good. What cards are in it below Cold Light Oracle? I don't see them in the.
Oh, it's only 2 Alkanized. That's it.
It's
That's the top of the curve.
yeah, it curves out at 4.
Yeah.
Which is
We used to
crazy.
have, I used to put Holy Novas and Azure Drakes for card draw, but I ended up cutting the Nova earlier today. But it's like you can probably modify it a lot. Lance Carrier's done a lot of work. I found with Northshire and Argent Squire, you can get a lot of like early game buffs. And even though the card is mediocre, that's kind of what makes it good, and that nobody kills it, and the Valence Chosen lands more often than not. Same thing with Jewel Scarab, which will become the Curator eventually.
There's a lot of card drawing. Like, do you need the powered shields and
Yeah,
even
you do. I mean,
Elite
Leprechaun
Order,
Powered
okay.
Shield is obscene.
Yeah,
It's,
that's true. Actually,
it makes you want to gouge your eyes out.
Shield is maybe like the strongest card in Hearthstone. I think it's the only card in the game that you would play 2 of in every deck.
Okay.
Given the choice, yeah, probably.
Even it's even better than Innervate because Innervate you wouldn't play in like Face Hunter.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Yeah. So, what card do you think it's missing? Like Noxious, like what card is Priest missing that would like, it's the Tunnel Trog for Priest basically.
Well, they need I mean, the Curator might be the 2-drop that they need because, like, on one hand, it's a 1/2, which is absolutely horrible, but it's got enough health that it doesn't get pinged, and it's also not threatening enough that anybody kills it. So it's falling in that Valence Chosen perfect target spot. It becomes a 3/6 with Valence Chosen. So I feel like once we get that, and you can get rid of the Jeweled Scarabs in the deck, maybe that's going to be enough. Like Shadow Boxer just doesn't cut it for 2-drops. Warmer Station is a 2-drop, but for very specific type of deck. So I'm still looking for that. I was trying out Flame Jugglers in this list initially because it's a 2/3, it deals 1 damage immediately, but it still doesn't work nearly as well as Lance Carrier for the most part as far as aggro goes. Like, maybe just a solid way to give you Shadow Form without having to put Shadow Form in your deck would be good. Like, the 1 mana Murloc is going to be an auto-include in this list. Like, there's no reason not to put it in. Like, that hero power barely does work for you. And if I can add another 1 mana 1/3, which is absolutely crazy stat-wise for Priest, then that's gonna give me, you know, the ability to get Hunter hero power, Warlock life tap, like anything goes. It's gonna be absolutely stupid.
Yeah, he's talking about Murgleton, the
Yeah,
Murloc
right.
that
Sir
changes
Finley,
the
Murgleton.
Sir
Right.
Finley. So yeah,
That
No, I
card's
don't know.
ridiculous.
that
I
That
know,
card's
right?
gonna make the Shaman deck really good too.
Oh yeah,
Yeah,
that's
it's
true. Yeah, that hero
annoying
power
as well.
shaman is like in that aggro shaman doesn't even matter right now. So
I haven't run the numbers, but I would guess it's about 50-50 or like 45% to get Hunter or Warlock.
mhm.
So if you get either of those, you make any aggressive list like very, very powerful.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
that's kind of interesting. We'll see how that affects decks. But yeah, this kind of deck looks cool. That new 2-drop for Priest though, that card is that's what's gonna balance out Shaman on ladder because it's gonna make Priest more popular. Like here we are, is it 5 expansions in now? Is the 5th time cards have been released or something?
Next, GVG, BRM, TGT. Yeah, it's the 5th time. Yeah.
Here we are, 5 expansions in, and Blizzard finally decided to print a 2-mana card for Priest that you can play in a non-dragon deck. And yeah, it's gonna be a real like
the one,
big
yeah,
kid class now.
the card they're talking about is the Museum Curator, which I'll show you here.
Like how can
Actually,
you
hold on. Give me a
expect
second.
decks like Priest or Shaman to be competitively viable when decks like Mage get Mana Worm into Mad Scientist since Nax, and Priest gets Northshire into Hero Power the opponent. Like
Mhm.
it's now that Priest actually has a 1-drop and a 2-drop. Again, 5 expansions in. I can't stress enough how absurd that is. How long that took.
Right.
Like now we can actually play Priest and see what the class does. I'm excited.
Yeah,
Right.
some versatility to it at least. We've been seeing the same Priest over
It
and
doesn't
over.
even matter what it does. Like it needs to be like barely better than Novice Engineer or just like slightly playable and
What?
just like fixes Priest, something to do turn 2.
Well,
But yeah,
yeah,
all the death battles are good.
people never played Novice Engineer, right? People were playing like Wild Pyro
Right.
and
Sure.
cards like that, right? That were more about removal than it was about any kind of tempo or that sort of thing.
It was about time. You would like keep it and you would play it as Bloodfin Raptor like 90% of the time and just feel bad, man. that card, I don't know.
Everything
Sorry,
Priest
I'm
ever had was always a gimmick. Like whenever you saw them include stuff like Shrinkmeister or
Yeah,
like
Shrinkmeister
Shadow
too.
Boxer,
That's
like
true.
I thought that maybe, Mech Priest. There was a point which was actually kind of an interesting one where Priest with mechs looked like that Clockwork Knight really
Yeah.
looked solid. I was like, yeah, this is definitely giving the upgraded repair bot a perfect companion because like you have 4 or 5 drops that just make your 4-drop absolutely ridiculous. Like Shredder kills Belcher without dying. Mechanical Yeti kills Belcher, has 2 health left over. 3 health left over. It's just like it looked really solid, but then you actually get around to playing it, and the early game is still not sufficient, or the card draw is not sufficient. There's always something missing. So the fact that we can play like a normal priest deck that's not dragon or mech and use the 2 jobs that we have without waiting for turn 8 to combo it with something is like, I don't know. It's just it's due time basically.
Yeah,
It's
I
not.
think that just having a amazing 1-drop into an amazing 2-drop is so important that I imagine Dragon Priest will still be the best version of Priest, but now you'll play this guy in addition to Wormrest Agent. So now you're like way more consistent. And then this guy finds you a 3-drop a really high percentage of the time. So yeah, I think Priest is going to be very consistent after this card is out.
All right. Well, definitely check out those decks, guys. I mean, lots of fun ones that we talked about from Reynad and Noxious's Priest deck. But we're gonna move on. We're gonna do our Tink My Deck segment, which is a segment that we always that we've done in the past, where you guys send in your decks and then we get a chance to take a look at them and maybe help you out with it. So here we go. We got a deck.
Tink My Deck.
Got a little audio. I forgot about that. And then we've got this deck from Kojima Tsutsumi, which looks like it's a Dragon Shaman here. So let's see what we can do for Kojima here to improve it. And for those of you that want to, send in your decks for future Value Town shows, you can send them into valuetown at chanmanv.tv, and we'll definitely take a look at it. Okay, this deck has a little bit of everything. So it has a lot of the dragon elements. Got Rumbling Elemental. You guys see the deck? You guys had the link, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, cool.
Yeah.
All right.
Cool.
Anything?
So Rumbling Elemental works with a lot of the 4 and 5 drops. That's kind of cool.
Oh yeah, that's true.
I like it. I like this design actually, because Brand Bronzebeard also works super well with all the dragons. Because like whether you're playing it with the high curve like Neferin, which is a bit silly, or you're playing it with the Twilight Guardian, you're still getting value. Double card draw from Drake. Like that's actually really really cool use of Brand. I like that.
Yeah, I think the important thing when building shaman decks like this is you have to understand that if you're playing dragons, you really want to curve out. So cards like Ancestral Knowledge become very unplayable, in my opinion, in decks like this. Where versus like an aggro shaman, it's a fine card because you like empty your hand and then you just want to draw into burn, which Ancestral Knowledge is good at. But a deck like this, it's really going to stop you from playing like a 3-4-5 like this deck wants to do. So I'd recommend cutting Ancestral Knowledge and probably Elemental Destruction as well, because you have your own dudes. And
Two frogs.
Yeah, 2 Trogs.
2 Trogs, yeah, that would work.
Once you're playing Trog, you only really have like Totem Golem and Crackle at that point to buff him. So at that point, I would consider maybe Lightning Bolt to go along with Azure Drake, or at least one Stormforged Axe, which is a pretty good early game play when you don't have Golem. Or even when you do.
Okay. Yeah, I think those are good suggestions. Noxious, what do you think? Anything
It's kind of
in
tough
addition
though
to that?
to play like Stormforged Axe and double Totem Golem and double Crackle without having Trogs in your deck. Like it hurts me inside.
Well, I mean, yeah, with Trog, you'd
Yeah,
play Trog.
you'd probably find a way to include it. But yeah, it's just I feel like Dragon Shaman's always been one of those decks that people have tried to make work, but the overloads always kind of messed you over, right? Like there's really no way to get past the fact that you're not curving as Shaman, and I don't even know if this deck addresses that too well. Like they're playing the biggest minions for their curve, right? Zombie Chow, Totem Golem with Blackwing Tech, hopefully getting buffed, of course. Like they're hoping to just play big dudes on curve and have them stick around long enough, but they don't have the staying power that something like a Priest would be able to give them, the hero power. So they're still relying on curving out very much so, because until turn 4, their staying power is very limited. So they'd probably have to put removal, like you said, Stormforged Axe, Lightning Bolt. Seems like it would actually make sense.
Yeah.
Only one storm is something that could be a little difficult to manage these days, depending on what you're running up against. But I feel like with the amount of board flood that's happening, whether it's coming from Zoo or Secret Valley, or even Shaman these days, like you can play it against anything really. Like it's you have to have AoE. If you cut Elemental Destruction, you need to find some kind of way to deal with those.
Yeah, what do you guys think of Lightning Storm right now? Because I've actually played around with just putting Mind Control techs in instead of Lightning Storm recently, just because of all the flooding decks.
I always hated the card, man. 2 to 3 damage. Like
I told them in alpha, don't try right now. It's over. The Shaman Dream is dead. I told them that class is gonna suck because its hero power is bad. Like the RNG of it is gonna screw them up if they also have to RNG with the spell. But they kind of said, there's a degree of skill to manipulating the RNG, which is true to an extent. Like you have to play around with it, like to play around it, not to manipulate it, but like it takes a level of skill to roll high on Lightning Storm. That's
I agree with that, but then like you're making the pushes for like high legend ranks, and
right.
There's no degree of skill manipulating your climb, right? If you're rolling 3 every game, your degree of skill is very high, and you're gonna get like high legend. But I agree at like mid to higher ranks, like a good player will play around low rolls and all that. But
like, you have to play around your own card. That's what I find is messed up. Is that you're actually playing a card that costs you, an extra turn of doing nothing, and you're playing around it. Like it's possibly a detriment to your game plan, and that really frustrates me as a piece of design. But I mean, I wish they would just consider making it standard across the board. Whether they lower the damage by 1, reduce the overload or something, but it's just they're hell-bent on keeping it the way it is. And at least they gave us Elemental Destruction, a much better 3-drop and we clear.
It still has some variance to that one too, dude. I mean, it's like to get that 5, you gotta like kill your own Azure Drake sometimes.
I wish Lightning Storm always did 2 damage, man. It would be so much better.
Yeah, that's.
I just wouldn't be like tilted, you know. I would know what it's there for.
Yeah.
Every time I put it in my deck, I'd be like, "This is here to deal 2 damage."
Yeah, it's a consecration that overloads me, and I can play 1 turn earlier. I know what's going on instead of having to hope that it does what it does.
Yeah, definitely.
The dream.
All right, so yeah, hopefully Kojima, that will help you out. Just improving this. It's pretty good already, so it doesn't take too much to have you maybe ladder up just a little bit more with it. Okay, well, I think we're going to take like a mini break, like a 30-second break here. I just want to kind of plug the Patreon real quick, but I want to say thanks to all the supporters too so far. And we'll be right back with we're gonna do our call-ins. So one last try to, or one last minute type of getting added to this channel here. If you guys want to do call-ins, here I'll link it one more time. Definitely come in here. But we'll be right back in just 1 second, guys.
Tink My Deck.
Want to support ValueTown? Go to patreon.com/ValueTown. Come and join us by the heart.